it's Amanda here, your Cutie Of Carnage here for another countdown. This week's countdown is actually inspired by recent events. There's been a lot of harassment stories on television and everything, and a lot of women have been coming forward talking about being victims, and it's just unfortunate. So I decided to go ahead and throw a little girl power out there, if you will. Unfortunately, me being a female, I have dealt with a lot of, I guess, harassment myself. Being a female in the horror community, I've seen, first off, how ignorant people can be. So, like I said, I decided to do a countdown dedicated to the female influence in horror, whether that be directors or just storyline or just kick-ass women itself. So, this countdown is going to be the top 10 horror films with a female influence. So, let's go ahead and go to number 10. My number 10 is going to be 2009's Jennifer's Body, starring Amanda Seyfried, Megan Fox, and of course, Adam Brody. You know, I used to have a crush on him on the OC. Yeah, I was one of those girls. Guilty. A lot of people give this movie a lot of crap because honestly, it's really not that great of a film, but I noticed a lot of girls, especially around the horror community, actually do like this film. They do. By no means is it like a perfect horror film. I mean, it's not. I'm not the biggest Megan Fox fan, but I will say that her role in this film is really on point, and it's just so much fun. And I guess a lot of women like this movie because you can identify more with the characters. Everybody has had that best friend who was, in my case, I had a best friend who was popular. She was a cheerleader. We're still best friends to this day, Misty. I love you, but she was the cheerleader. She was the pretty girl, and I was the weird horror nerd girl. And although our relationship wasn't as tense in this movie, I could see a lot of points in it that kind of made me laugh to myself. So that being said, number 10 is going to be Jennifer's Body. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's worth a look. It really is worth a look. It's just fun. It's campy. The effects are pretty awesome. And so, yeah. So let's go to my number 9. Number 9 is going to be, of course, I cannot have a countdown about female horror influence without mentioning 1996's The Craft, directed by Andrew Fleming. I love this film. That was my teen angst in a bubble. Like, if you could put my teen angst in a jar, it would be The Craft. If you could fit that in a jar. But you can ask, all my friends in high school were all about this film. I actually had a group of friends in high school and middle school who were like obsessed with this film. And we used to watch it all the time. We did Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board, and that was just it. And Andrew Fleming, a lot of people don't really know him as a director, but I'm a huge fan of him because although he directed The Craft, which is one of my favorite films, of course, he also directed this little-known comedy that I love called Hamlet 2. So, off the subject, if you guys get a chance, check out Hamlet 2 because it is hilarious. The whole friendship between the girls and the bickery, and it's basically just, you know, a teen girl drama, but set in a very dark atmosphere. So, a chick flick with witchcraft. You can't go wrong with that, can you? Anyways, let's go to my number 8. My number 8 is going to be 2000's Gingersnaps, starring Catherine Isabella. I was all about this film, as well as everybody else's. It's about a girl, sisters, who are really into the dark and macabre. They are in kind of this secluded relationship within themselves. So, although it has a werewolf. I mean, she starts turning into a werewolf. It has a very big sister dynamic between the two girls, so it's very feminine in itself, and it's directed by John Fawcett, which he was able, although a male, he was still able to go and kind of capture the relationship between the sisters. And although it has a lot of sequels to it, you had Gingersnaps 2 and you had Gingersnaps the beginning. The first one was the only one to really grasp the relationship between the sisters. And you don't have to be really a female to appreciate the film, but if you are a female with a sister, you are more prone to identify with the film. It has great graphics, the storyline's awesome, and Catherine Isabella is hot. She's hot as hell. So that doesn't really hurt the story either. So yeah, Gingersnaps. That's my number 8. So let's go to number 7. My number 7, of course, I cannot mention female-based horror without mentioning 2005's Neil Marshall's The Descent. That film was just bleeding with female influence, really. I mean, no pun intended. I mean, there was blood everywhere. But it has a group of girls in a underground fighting creatures. And you have to look at the standpoint of, yes, it's a creature feature, it's a monster film, but there was a lot of stuff going on between the girls. And it had a very heavy, undertoned way of kind of having a drama within themselves, but put into a situation of pure terror and horror. So the girls, although they had drama within themselves, they had to basically kind of knock it up to 11 because they're already emotional enough. Women are very emotional. I can't help but say, but we are. But mic it up to 11 because we got creatures trying to kill us too. So, chick flick gore category. That being said, let's go ahead and get to number 6. My number 6 is going to be 2014's David Robert Mitchell's It Follows. A lot of people might wonder why I put this on a countdown, other than having a female lead and a few female characters. But this film has a lot of undertone to female sexuality. It has this girl who is coming to her own. She's a young lady, and she kind of finds herself, and she kind of starts coming out sexually. And it kind of shows when she starts coming out as her own, as a sexual woman, a sexual being, she gets plagued with this horrible curse. Basically, kind of a curse, kind of a demon STD if you can. So that has a lot of undertones showing kind of like her finding herself as a sexual being versus finding herself as surviving a unknown entity, I guess, the best way to put it. So that kind of symbolizes sexuality itself, because when women kind of come to their own, it's very frowned upon. It is. It's very frowned upon. And like we know, guys can go and sleep with as many women as they want, but a girl doesn't, and she's a slut. So I kind of looked more into it. You know, she comes out as her own, and she has this demon, this entity, which is following her. And it's kind of showing how she's kind of dealing with that in itself, but then also trying to deal with herself as a person. So without spoiling anything, the ending kind of sums it up in itself. When she comes to terms with it as a creature, she also comes to terms with herself as a woman. So that's how I see that. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. My number 5 is going to be the Stockton Sisters 2012's American Mary. Also, Catherine Isabella. I love her. Can't help it. She makes good movies. Well, except Freddy vs. Jason. I mean, she was in that, but she didn't get her full potential. But anyways, American Mary is about a woman who is going to medical school. She's trying to get her head on straight. She's going to medical school, and unfortunately, something really dramatic happens to her. And she starts going downhill from there. It's just kind of, she starts making choices, and she kind of becomes this being of just desire, um, passion, revenge, and it just kind of has this impact on her as a person. So when you watch it, it's very understandable. Although the things she does do, you know, a normal person wouldn't do. But you also see yourself in the character. And I have a lot of guy friends who watch it who are like, it's a great movie because she's hot and she kills people. But a lot of my girlfriends who I talk to like the movie because of the character itself. And you kind of identify with somebody who you see kind of gradually come to a point of no return versus, you know, her waking up and be like, you know what? I don't want to go to medical school anymore. I want to go kill people. It's more than that. It's very gradually kind of going into itself. So a lot of women, I think, would appreciate this film if they watched it, although, you know, it is very graphic. There's a lot of things that happen or that are pretty hard to watch. There's a lot of things in it that are pretty hard to watch. I remember one time I was at work. I take care of, I do home health, and I was at a client's house and he was watching the film, and yeah, he was, what the hell is this, Amanda? And I said, well, sir, it's American Mary. And I sat there and explained the film to him, and he was very intrigued. Yeah, he was very disturbed at the same time. So, American Mary, if y'all have seen it, check it out. It's a great film. So, let's go ahead to my next one. My number 4 is a very controversial decision. This movie, a lot of my friends didn't like. It was very, it was on a lot of people's worst list. But my number 4 is going to be 2016's Neon Demon, starring Ella Fanning, Keanu Reeves, and Jenna Malone. This film is very artistic. It's very visual, okay? It has to do with a woman, Ella Fanning, who is from a small town. She comes to the big city to become a model. And a lot of things ensued within there. It's really hard to kind of talk about it without spoiling the film, but it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful film. A lot of people don't like this film because they say style over substance. I tend to disagree because although it was a beautiful film, I saw kind of the undertone under everything. Nicholas Sway Refn. That's how you're supposed to say his name. I think that's supposed to say his name. But he directed Drive. He directed Only God Forgives, that are very visually appealing. But a lot of people like to put him in the category of style over substance. I tend to disagree, but then again, you know, it's just my opinion. But the film has a lot to do with being in the fashion industry, being in the industry of beauty, and unfortunately, being in the beauty industry, you know, you are thrown out like nothing. You can be the top bill, and then the next day you're back to doing blush, basically doing makeup. You start up as a makeup girl, end up like a model. You're probably gonna end up like being the buffer on a porn set. Now, I don't know that personally, but apparently, you know, from things I've heard, that's how the cookie crumbles. So it's a very beautiful film, and it has a lot of undertones, although it's really not horror until the other half. It's one of those movies you have to kind of watch, and then the third part of the film, kind of like towards the second half, it becomes more horror related and very in your face, and I thought it was great. So if y'all get a chance, Neon Demon. So let's go on to the next one. My number 3 is going to be 2016's The Final Girls, starring Teresa Farmiga. I think that's your supposed to say her name. I picked this film because although the title itself says The Final Girls, it is very empowering to women, I believe, because it kind of shows that you don't have to be the, you know, cliche virgin who, you know, doesn't really fit in with the crowd. It kind of shows that if you're willing to fight, you can fight. And not only that, it has a story within it that's very real, that kind of grabs you in an emotional level. And so, that being said, you sit here and you don't just see these women as, victims. You see them as women in peril who are trying to overcome, versus the girl who's running down the street and twists over the branch and then, gets axed to the back of the head. So, that is my pick for my number 3. Here comes the good part. We're going to number 2. My number 2 is going to be 2011's Woman, directed by Lucky McKee. This film is very, very off the rocker. It is about a feral woman who is found out in the wilderness, and this man finds her and he locks her in a basement. And it just, from there, gets intense. It gets really intense. There's a daughter within the story who witnesses all this abuse, and you can imagine he has a woman locked in his basement who's feral, who has no family, who nobody's looking for. So you can imagine the horrors that ensued within the family. Not just the husband, with the brother, with just everything going on. And this daughter witnesses it. And unfortunately, the mother witnesses it too, but it doesn't take as much of an impact as it does with the daughter. So without getting spoiler territory, it's very, very in-depth, and it's very disturbing. And the ending is very epic in the way of, you could kind of feel the emotion within the ending, versus just kind of, bam, kill, leaving. It's kind of a very open interpretation, I guess, of how the person receives. Because the thing about it is, the woman's feral, so there's not much emotion you can really grasp from her, because she's not that she's not a normal person, but she's not a person within reason, I guess. So the ending is very open to, you can see how she's feeling, but at the same point, it's very feral and very open-ended, because you see her eyes, but she can't really sit there and relay or have the same reasoning. She doesn't know what is happening is wrong. She knows it's painful to herself, but she doesn't understand the social standing within harassment and rape and torture. But she can still understand the daughter. So with that's the most I'm going to go without spoiling it. But if you guys watch the film, it's very intriguing. It's very intriguing, and it's very mind-boggling, I guess, best way. The ending is very, you just have to watch it. It's very hard to watch if you guys have problems watching very violent scenes. You probably might have a hard time watching this film, but anyways, but it's still good, and I like the film, so that's going to be my number 2. Before I get to my number 1, I want to go ahead and mention my honorable mentions. My number 1 honorable mention is going to be 1977's Suspiria. Yes, I cannot leave this off the countdown due to the fact that it is about a ballerina going to an all-girls school. Although I did kind of leave it off the table, because although it is very, very feminine in the story, I believe, without going to spoiler territory, it still is very influenced by society versus just kind of like influenced by women. That's my way of looking at it. It's a very open film. My second honorable mention is another Lucky McKee film, and that is 2003's May. May is a very, very interesting film. It is about a woman who is very recluse. She has no friends, and she establishes a relationship with a doll. There's a drama between her and this girl who's beautiful, played by Anna Faris, who's very beautiful, and she wants to be her, and then she has drama with the guy she likes, and it's very Frankenstein-like. That's the best way I can put it, but it's one of my favorites. And that is one of my honorable mentions for the countdown. May and Suspiria. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. They're very good. Half these people probably already seen Suspiria, so I don't have to tell you how awesome that is, but a lot of people haven't seen May, so if you guys get a chance, watch it. It's pretty awesome. Guys, it's time for my number one. Okay, guys, here it is. My number one. My number one favorite female influenced horror film is going to be 2016's The Monster. It has been a long time since a movie has resonated so hard with me. The film is about a mother and daughter relationship. And they'd go on a trip to go take her to her father's home, and they're a divorced couple, and so they're taking their daughter to their home in at her father's house, and they get broke down in a very unsafe part of the woods, and there's a creature. The story is much more than that. The story kind of dives into the relationship between the mother and the daughter, and there's a lot of symbolism in this film that really kind of got me in the feels, because although, you know, my mother wasn't an alcoholic or a druggie, I did have a strained relationship with my mother, without getting too personal. So seeing a lot of the parts in the film kind of hit me really hard, and the ending, without spoiling anything, there was a kind of a full circle at the end. It really dove into forgiveness and love and basically letting go. And it was so very just resonating, I guess the best way to put it. It was just a great film, and I could go on forever about this film. I am looking at kind of a video to analyze the film. I just kind of have to sit there and get my thoughts together, because there's so many things going at once when I watch this movie that's very captivating. That being said, this film is very, very heavily female influenced. It really just, it dives into the relationship of parent to child to mother, and there's a lot of not trying to say if you don't have kids you won't really, it won't hit you as hard, but being that, you know, everybody has a mother, but being that, you know, I have a daughter, and you know, I have that relationship with my mother, it really kind of really got me hard. So I bet that a lot of people there to watch this, they would see a lot of the symbolism, and hopefully they would be able to appreciate it for what it is. So yeah, that is my number one on my countdown as female influenced horror. I hope you guys like this countdown. And of course I got this shirt. I have to give a shout out this shirt. I got this shirt from the horror show. They have a little store on their channel that I decided that I wanted to go and order me a little shirt. I love it. It's coexist. So you got Jaws. Yeah, let's see. We got Jaws. We got Freddy. We have Myers. We have Jason. We have It. We have Hellraiser. And then we have Texas Chainsaw. So anyways, I got this. I'll put the link down below in the description so y'all can check it out. They have a lot of cool stuff. But anyways, had to kind of show support to my friends over at the horror show. So anyways, guys, that kind of is my countdown right now. I'm sorry I'm kind of all over the place. It's really late right now. I had a really crazy day. I tried to put my horror tree together. I have, you know, I have my Miss Voorhees on here. I have a lot more ornaments I gotta put on here. I'll be posting pictures of that soon, but yeah, I'm still trying to get it together. I have, looks pink, but I couldn't find red lights at my store. They had some, but I couldn't find it. So what I did is, I looked like I've been killing people, because I went and got the lights and I just painted them. I just went and painted it red. I just pulled a Queen of Hearts and that shit, Alice in Wonderland. I just fucking was like, it has to be red. So anyways, guys. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel because I seek approval, and comment below. Let's start a conversation. I love it when everybody comments. I love hearing from you guys. If there's anything you guys don't agree with, anything I left out, just comment below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And lastly, y'all don't forget, like I always say, everybody just be kind to each other. Be kind to each other. The world has become such a crazy, angry place that we really, really, really cannot afford for people to hate on each other because of their horror opinions. You don't have to really sit there and have to agree. Just don't spread hate. We got enough hate in the world that we're fighting every day on a daily. We don't need to add to it, guys. It's the holidays, so be nice to each other. Anyways, guys, I will catch you guys later. Later, y'all. I so love horror movies.